What is going on? Welcome back to my mess. Everything is in shambles. I stopped everything halfway through after slicing open my thumb really badly, but I'm gonna start trying to get back into it again. I got a fair few bits and pieces done recently. I mean, hydroblasted and zinc plated. Mainly all of the intake plenum side and a few of the hard lines. So this is now what I'm working with. It's pretty fresh back from the hydroblasters. I pulled the throttle body apart and I got that done as well. I can't quite grab that yet because of this cut. It's mostly healed, but it still feels bad bending it. I got this done, I disassembled most of it. Cleaned up the spring there. The throttle wheel is dirty as hell still. Obviously I had to remove that for the hydroblasting. But this guy, separated all the parts completely, took out all of these insulators, isolators. I also got down in there, that's the idle control valve. I got that done as well. These done at the same time, all the water necks. So those are done and on. So is this one. I had to go at this one with what I thought was a relatively soft wire wheel, but as you can see, it's scored away at it pretty badly. Kind of sucks, but oh well. Still, it looks better than it did. There's more crap out of it. Yeah, that's how the engine's looking now. Got the pump back on. That's an S13 pump. Don't have the alternator on. That's just over here. Got the wide and high capacity sump pan, and it's welded sheet metal, so it's not going to shatter into pieces over bumps. That's nice. Furry printed some bits so I can block off the intake. And this bad boy, which I'm pretty happy with. There's a few weird ripples through it, but you know, it's stuff that can be sorted out when it gets finished. But this is the S13.4, S13.5 cover. So you got a non-VCT front end with a VCT rear end. The whole point of that is that in here now there are baffles. So when my sump ventilation tube comes up into here now, before it goes back across into the intake pipe, before it does that now, it comes up, is baffled, catches what oil it can out of the air, and then into this piece, which runs across the front and then down into the intake pipe. Originally on the standard non-VCT SR cover, you've got a T-piece that comes right out of the center. The vent comes straight up into a really crappy oil air separator that often gets blocked and does nothing, and then straight across into this T-piece, takes it all out in there and pulls it straight across, whereas now it goes straight up into baffling and then back out through here before it goes into the intake. Ideally you would run a hose from here to an oil catch can at the back, and then you continue the hose around to the intake. The other side is a whole new situation. Press in PCV, so I'm gonna have to get one of those. Apparently they're all cheap, easy, just pop in plastic ones now, which is nice, but then you're still better off running that to a catch can and then back in again, because this guy, holy moly, was absolutely choppers. The inside of the plenum there was lined with oil. It wasn't black, it was still kind of see-through, and you could see, you know, you could still see the surface of the metal, but it was all kind of golden and tacky. Same with the runners, they're golden tacky on the inside from all the oil into your Milwaukee stubby. Today I'm going to be chucking all of this stuff back onto the engine, as well as adding a new bit to it as well. I've got myself an eccentric throttle wheel from GK Tech that I'll be swapping out on this throttle body here, because this one's crusty, it's old, it looks like crap. From a lot of the video reviews I've actually watched on this throttle wheel, it does change the feel of it quite a bit, so I'm keen to give it a go. Not that it's going to be running anytime soon, as you can see, but I've got all my fuel rail, vacuum lines and coolant hard lines freshly stripped of zinc, hydroblasted, and then re-zinced in yellow zinc. I started on putting those in. I also grabbed these. I think I already pointed that out. Let's get to it. Getting zinc done wasn't very expensive. It could have been less expensive if I had more stuff done at the same time, because this didn't meet the minimums. Maybe it'll be easier to do if I put it on the engine. But yeah, I just wanted to like clean it up. It was looking real old, real crap. I wanted it looking nice and schmick and less corroded because of how much is going to be not visible in the engine bay. I figured it's probably a good time to be cleaning up a few bits and pieces. I got a few other 3D printed bits and pieces that I can show you later on, which is also how I managed to cut my thumb. Oh. Now I won't bother putting the gasket on there yet, because who knows if I'm going to need to take off this whole assembly to get it back up the side of the house. Grab a few of these bits and pieces. I'm pretty sure that goes in like that. Maybe I'll try to spin it around. Why aren't you happy? What's going on with you? I think the bolt's just a bit grimy. Hey pup. I fucked up. Bugger. What I was actually meant to do before any of this was get the, yeah, I didn't really clean the back of this. I might, but I probably won't. What I was meant to do was get all these guys back on. But I got this bit left to do, which goes up there. A couple videos back, there was one or two of you that asked if I'm still making the aero mirrors for the car. I am. Those and a few other bits and pieces. That's what I cut myself doing. I got the fuel rail. This thing is always a bitch because you got these little isolator slash insulator washers. What the fuck? You kind of got to like catch them with the bolt. And when you're doing them in the engine bay, it's even worse. But yeah, it's been a little while since I filmed because of the whole like cutting my hands open on everything, which I seem to do pretty often. I don't know if I should do this on the engine or on the table, but I imagine on the engine would be easier because I can fix that, because that's a spring, and trying to twist that with some pliers with this sort of just like floating around doing whatever, I'm going to imagine will suck. So I'll pop this on. In fact, I'll put the camera down because this is a much smarter thing to do. I've already wiped down and cleaned the surfaces, just wasn't on camera. Now it's just a matter of getting it all to stay together. You can just use gasket glue, which I've done before. I'm pretty sure I've done that before in one of these videos. I just waited until they all came into stock and went and got the OEM ones. This is what we got. Really nice fresh intake side. I did put a fresh gasket in between these two as well. I just haven't tightened them all up. And you can see a little tab from it. There's that fresh paper gasket in there. I will actually have to take a lot of stuff off anyway to replace the hoses down in there. But I'm not bothering with that just yet. I just want to get it all on, see it the way it is. But next up, nope. There's probably a better way to do this, and it's not that. Oh, it's okay. One got a socket, and then it just fits anyway. But you want to keep him. That's what it looks like in there. Now on the website they mentioned something about trimming down the shaft. Whoops. So there's something to do with these S13 throttle bodies where I'm pretty sure this guy here, where the spring anchors to, sometimes they're a bit longer. I'm just gonna put that on the table. Screw that. Sometimes these little this little shaft that the spring anchors onto is a bit longer. So I'm imagining when they say to trim down, that's the part they're talking about. It all seems pretty straightforward though. So I'll grab out the new guy. We'll do a little bit of a comparison. Which way do they go? That's the pickup. And that's the pickup there. So there's your differences. So this guy comes out up to here, which is off center from that. This guy comes around, which is still concentric to that. And I imagine this whole like tapered edge is why they say to trim down that shaft, in case it doesn't clear it. Putting this on is not going to happen one-handed. Just know as well, with this guy, you're going to have a shit time getting it on. It's probably a smarter way to do it. What I like to do, put the pliers through there, grab the spring as best you can, and bring it the whole way around. And you got to spin it quite a way around. Come up and over. Like that. It's not seated yet though. And the bushing's out of whack. It seems to be going on. Bushing looks like it's in place now. You can see it through there. Oh, it's a bit dark, a bit bright in the background. I'll try and block it off. There's a little bushing in there. There's a little hook. Grabs onto this. Seems to be on good. Because this spring, it's like a double. As you can see, there's actually like two little anchors down here. Two little spring anchors. So there's a second one that anchors, because there's a spring inside that anchors just underneath, and that's what this clears and goes around. If it doesn't clear it, your bushing will be like pushed right up off the top of it and it'll be doing some funky stuff. Let's get that on. There's probably a torque value for this, but I just figured that that's tight enough. It's got a split washer, so it's gonna be sprung anyway. Cool. I mean, in terms of getting the intake side mostly put back together today, I'm pretty happy with that. And that's the difference you're looking at now. I mean, obviously one looks better. And it should feel better too. I've also got the Fujitsu on there now. I've got a set of Apexi ones, which, as I've said before, I've chopped the collector off of. It's got a spiral collector or a swirl or an octopus. And that'll go down there. Doesn't fit by any means at all right now, but that's fine because we can chop these further up. A couple other bits I grabbed from JK Tech the other day, because it's just like a sort of a little mini care package of bits and pieces that while the engine's out it's good to do. I'll show you this. That's their engine torque damper. Here's the one I've already got. I found this guy in Mark's shed at one of the places he was renting for a bit. I never had the bracket, so I had this hunk of junk Bunnings bracket. Yeah, here's the stack of them. Yeah, there's a fat stack of washers underneath this thing. Space it off of the engine like that. Plus, this thing's old, it's crusty, it doesn't really move at all. There's no dampening, there's just straight up rock solid arm. Let's have a look at the difference between the shed found one and the GK one. Well, they're both decently thick. They look just about the same, to be honest. Actually, let's mount this up. It is meant to point up higher. So it clears everything and doesn't put the damper right down on top of the extractors. Because my one, I think I had come straight across here, or I had it come straight across here. That should be good. It sits up quite tall. Like last time, here is another version of my mirror that I've made. It's not a Bomex, it's not an East Bear, it's my own design. It's bigger than Bomex. I don't know how big an East Bear is, to be honest. And it's like a weird half-breed between the two, but also not. This is the main part I've been working on, trying to get that fitting to the gutter perfectly. Also refining the print settings a bit, so that it doesn't need so much effort for finishing once it comes out of the car. And I still need to model up and manufacture a few bits and pieces for the mirror mount. The other ones I've been working on are these triple gauge holders. I did a handful of 3D scanning recently of different parts of the car. I've been using that 3D scan to make these gauge holders that mount perfectly to the shape of the dashboard. So your center vents sit under here, got that up there. There's plenty of space for these 3 gauges to pop in. I can sit them in there without them even mounted. Obviously you press them through the other side. And that was the first version, very like hard cut back shape. I'll skip straight through to the third version. I think it's this one. Yeah, this guy here. These ones are pretty neat. Can't wait to... I'm going to try and get them done, or try and 3D print them again soon. I think I'll see how much it's going to cost me to get it fully 3D printed out of some like finished quality material. Because doing it with my printer, you have to like put in support material here and there, and that gets annoying. I'm really happy with the quality of it though. And as you can see, they're angled towards the driver, makes it a lot easier. Goes nice and flat all the way up on the dash. So on top of your dash you'll have like a really flat section, which you can stick whatever you want on. Chuck a hula girl on there, and a few different mounts, a few double-sided tapes and things. They're offset too. That way, when you do stick it to the dash, it's not going to stick up off of the dash for the thickness of the tape. It should stick pretty flush, maybe like a tiny little gap. I'll chuck some gauges in it and some blue tack on these. I'll put it in the car and I'll show you. Ooh boy, there's some spider webs in here. This is the first time I'm test fitting this one. I mean, it's going to be no different to the last one, but this one's got the mounts on it, which I didn't have last time. Now, the cool part about this being matched to the 3D scan of the dashboard means it kind of just like slides up into its own position once it finds the spot. So you can put it like above, slide it down, and then it just like sits into the exact spot it needs to be, or the exact spot that I've modeled it to be. That's it. That's my custom gauge holders. They point at the driver, nice and easy to read, fits the dash, gives me a nice little flat section to mount things to. I wonder if you could do like a little magnet mount, because I've got the little Scotch thing in there, as you can see. Magnet mount on that, chuck the speedo and have it reflect off of the windscreen here. Be a weird spot to have your speedo, but it'd be a pretty neat little heads up display. Tomorrow I'm probably gonna fit up that test mirror that I just showed you, and then I'll also get down in here to unplug the accessory looms for the bay and take that out into the bay to get some panel beating done. So this is the current state of the bay. It's dirtier than when I gave it to the shop because it came back filled with metal shavings, which, as you can see, are now rusting into it. Sick. So I asked for that whole section to be like rebuilt, and that's what I got. Some hammered in bends here and there, and then just some holes boogered in with weld, and then spray painted black. Didn't prep the area too, because that was just a little patch of oil, so all the spray paint down there just came off. There was, you know, scratching through the paint already, and I haven't touched this since. Fucking shit. So I'm getting that all redone properly by actual professionals who don't do a shit job. And then I'm gonna probably jump in here on Monday as well and get rid of some of this fucking metal shavings that are left everywhere throughout it, as well as replace the pivot ball that you saw. And I'll put a bit of lubricant or something in there while I'm at it, because that one is squeaky and screechy and sucks. To get all this done, I've got to move all this loom out of the way, which means I've got to unplug it from behind the firewall over there, and then unclip it along the top of the guard, bring it through here, and just shove it over to the side. Shouldn't be too bad. I mean, there's not a whole lot that comes through here, and then this is already mostly undone, and then this, I can just like pop that whole piece off and take it away. Fuck that. So I reckon I'm going to leave it at that for the video. Got these bits and pieces done, showed you a few of the bits and pieces that I've been making as well. Next up is going to be mucking around with some loom, getting a few other carpets, getting a few other car parts together. I'm not sure if I covered in one of the other videos the damages. Whoa, almost threw this on the ground. I'm not sure if I covered in one of the other videos the damages that occurred to this and those pistons down there, but I'll go over them if I don't find them in editing. But yes, it's coming along. Bit of wiring to go, and then some more mods on the Gazelle coming soon, because it currently has like 80 mil of toe in, which is not good. So there's going to be some chopping of tie rods coming up. Thanks again for coming along. I'll see you again soon.